Bradley Report. There's a lot of things that I want to discuss today, especially the article that Mary Mitchell wrote. I wish I could bring it up on the air. But it was a beautiful piece that she wrote. And it was in reference to her saying that Larry Hoover should be able to receive fairness. And what she meant by that was that the judge's decision that came down the other day, I believe it was last week, where the judge refused to grant Larry's motion for his time to be cut up under the new law that Trump signed, or the new bill that Trump signed into law. I believe it was the First Step Act. Especially when at least 6 other people, if I'm not mistaken, that were on the case with Larry, or on the trial with Larry, the judge granted them, the same judge, granted them or granted their motion to be released under that new law. And the way Mary had broke the story down was that how is it that they can just say that this man, Larry Hoover, shouldn't be granted the same thing as other individuals who have been freed? In the story, she named a couple of the guys that were released up under this law. And like she made reference to the fact that with all this violence that's happening out here, there may be a possibility, not saying that Larry can stop everything, because no man or woman can stop, in my opinion, the senseless violence that's happening out here, because violence is sometimes spontaneous. It's not always gang violence. It's domestic violence. It's violence over beefs. But like Mary was saying, Mary Mitchell in the Sun-Times was saying, and I'm paraphrasing, is that if people can see fairness, it might go a long way. Again, like I say, I'm the host of the Bradley Report. I'm Wallace Gator Bradley, brand and confident of Larry Hoover, a staunch advocate for criminal justice reform, an advocate against unjustified sentencing, an advocate for fair prosecution, and an advocate for a fair trial. The material that I brought, or that I'm speaking on today, it was put together by none other than the chairman of United in Peace, Inc. And she's also the producer of this show. And I'm blessed that she's my wife, none other than Terry Marsh Bradley. And we're gonna, the technical guy behind the show is none other than Brother Omari. And with that, I want to say, to God be the glory. I know that's my story. Well, Mark, let's go to work. If you pick up that gun and you fire that gun, anyone that get harmed from you firing that gun, that's an innocent bystander. We asking the community, ostracize them, push them out, don't let them hide anywhere, don't support them, and let law enforcement do their job. The code is this: if you pick up that gun to solve your problem, I'm not endorsing violence. I'm saying you're violating the code if you discharge that weapon and innocent people get shot or killed, especially a child or an elderly person. And the community must uphold that code.
He got his shoe shined.
The reason that it worked in the 90s, because everyone was a part of it. Kids, women, elderly, was off limits.
You didn't touch him.
Didn't touch him. By ostracizing from the community, pushing you out of the community, not supporting you in the community, or protecting you in the community, so that law enforcement can do their job by apprehending you. And the Cook County State's Attorney can do her job by making sure that you get a fair prosecution. This is so that there's no retaliation in the community because you discharge or you fire that weapon at your attendant or attendant partner.
We all got to come together. Those of you, my name is Wallace Gator Bradley. I'm the urban translator. I'm the president of United Peace Inc. We all got to come together to let it be known that Black lives matter everywhere. Regardless if the police shoot somebody that's black, it means twice as much to our community when someone black is shooting someone black.
With at least 8 children under the age of 10 shot in the city in just 2 weeks, some are asking if that code still carries any weight.
There's something that we got to do.
Gator catches up with some friends on Calumet.
That 1-year-old that got killed.
His conversations of late have focused on kids getting shot. He says the rule still applies.
We as men got to put it down and say, that still exists. It never left.
We all got a responsibility.
We all got a responsibility, man.
But it never left.
I'm going to call out to all the brothers. You know what we do. Put the word on the street that this is no longer tolerated. Me and Holmes work together and we know how it works. We've been able to help individuals turn themselves in of the community, kick them out for law enforcement to come and arrest them. Now is the time. Just like it was a video from Miss Frazier that let everybody know about the awakening of George Floyd. Somebody got a video, or we need to use our video to stop this senseless violence. And I believe that vengeance belongs to the Lord. And with that, I want to say, to God be the glory. And that's my story.
know, Amari, I was reading in the news that the superintendent ended up going to the White House. No, it's on the first one that I sent you. Is where the superintendent goes to the White House. Nope. Yeah, yes, try that. I think that may be it. Yes, that's it. That's it.
When you want the biggest story.
Before you run it, it's wonderful that the superintendent has went to the Oval Office to meet with President Biden or whomever, and the president is saying they're gonna send a task force in to help Chicago because as you know, Chicago was one of 4 other states that had a lot of
was a passenger in that car.
mass shootings.
He was on South Halstead when it happened. He was hit by
Chicago
a bullet in the upper leg.
may have had the most number of
this
mass shootings. Week before the 4th of July, they had 4 mass shootings. And last week when I was on the show, I let it be known that one of the mass shootings was over at South Shore. But the community came together.
You want the biggest stories? Only
with
one
law
name.
enforcement, with business leaders, elected officials, community activists, and a host of others who may not have been talking to one another at one time, but they all were perfectly focused on making sure that the 4th of July, at least in their area, be safer than it was last year on the 4th of July, and safer than the community was the week before. And it was very successful in doing that. I want to say hooray, hooray for the East Side that came together, worked together, purposely focused, and they were united in peace. They weren't an organization united in peace, but they were working together, united in peace, to make it the 4th of July safe for the residents, especially the children and the elders. I want to say hooray, hooray, hooray to you brothers and sisters over on the East Side that had an energy over there that was saying peace in the East. Now, after the president had came here within the Chicago area, and he was pushing for the importance of his infrastructure bill, okay, the superintendent of police had went to the White House to meet, okay, and apparently, he had a good meeting. Bring it, come down a little bit. No. Go up, Amari. Take it up. Right there. Yeah. That's the story right there that I want to talk about after we, as a matter of fact, we can talk about that story right now. If you can get it. But as I was saying, if by chance we can pull that story down. But Mari, let's go to the story about the
Notorious Chicago gang
Yeah,
leader
that's
Larry
good right
Hoover
there.
is staying
Yeah, let's work with that.
behind bars for now.
A federal judge just made
You
that
heard me
decision today.
earlier
Tia Ewing is in Studio 32 with
talking
details.
about Brother Larry
Sally,
Hoover
the judge called Hoover, quote, one
and
of the most
how
notorious criminals
he was
in Illinois
denied.
history. Just last year, the judge did seem open to
As a
potentially
matter of fact, I'm gonna let you
letting
hear it for
70-year-old
yourself.
get a sentencing
Let's try to
break.
bring that-
But in
that-
a
that
recent
up right
move,
there.
U.S.
Come
Attorney
on.
John Lausch spoke out against it.
Can you
Federal
start it from the
prosecutors
beginning?
said they believe they had proof that Hoover was still in charge from behind prison walls. A sweep of an associate's cell phone in 2015 uncovered a pocket dictionary with a coded message to the Gangster Disciples founder. It said, quote, "I am ready to handle your business." Hoover is serving a 200-year sentence. He will have a chance to try for a sentencing break once again.
You know, I'm going to read a story to you from Mary Mitchell. The title of the story that was in the Sun-Times: If ex-Gangster Disciples boss Larry Hoover qualified, he should have gotten a sentencing break. The storied Chicago gang chief isn't responsible for today's violence, but treating him fairly could have gone a long way towards building the trust needed to end the chaos. That's what Mary Mitchell said. Let me read that to you again. The storied Chicago gang chief isn't responsible for today's violence, but treating him fairly could have gone a long way toward building the trust needed to end the chaos. I agree with her. Not only I, thousands, tens of thousands of other people agree with her. This was in a story in the Sun-Times by Mary Mitchell on July 9th, 2021. And it reads, who's afraid of ending up like Larry Hoover, the once upon a time chief of the Gangster Disciple Street Gang, locked up in a Supermax prison for life? And she says, certainly not the person accused of firing into a crowd of people cleaning up after a peaceful holiday barbecue. Certainly not the man who confessed to wounding two ATF officers and a Chicago police officer when he fired at an unmarked police vehicle on I-57. And certainly not those responsible for the 104 people shot, 19 killed over the 4th of July holiday weekend. That's been Chicago's most violent weekend this year. But according to the U.S. District Judge Harry Leibenweber ruling that denied Hoover the sentencing break he wanted under the Federal First Step Act, Hoover's harsh sentence could deter other criminals. She said, that don't look like that's happening. Leibenweber wrote, to the extent that any one person can deter another to commit crimes, Hoover's life imprisonment symbolically demonstrates that the rule of law reaches even those in power who seem untouchable. The judge called Hoover one of the most notorious criminals in Illinois history, and also wrote, Hoover is renowned and celebrated to this day by the Gangster Disciples. Leibenweber left the door open for Hoover to try again, but said he's concerned about an active risk of harm if he's ultimately freed. Wow. Hoover might be some folk hero among Chicago gangs, but the young people running around shooting people today weren't even born when Hoover was a top gang leader, according to the article that I'm reading by Mary Mitchell. Okay? And I agree. She says, I also don't think his misdeeds are worse than Al Capone, Babyface Nelson, or John Dillinger, who are treated like cultural icons. She says, I'm 71 and I can tell you I'm not looking for trouble. I'm looking for peace and spending the years I have left atoning for my hell-raising days. Those Mary's hell-raising days. Okay. However, any of us might feel about Hoover. If he qualifies for a sentencing break, he should get one. Besides, the gang members terrorizing our neighborhoods aren't listening to columnists, the mayor, the alderman, or the police chief, or the preachers. They can't hear us because we are operating in two different realities. When I call 911, I expect the police to show up, and I treat them with gratitude when they get there. But a young black man with a target on his back because of some festering beef on the block has learned not to count on the police for protection. By the time the detectives get there, the only things to see are a bleeding body, wailing relatives, and evidence markers. At that point, we'll need an army of trained violence interrupters to squash the beasts before they erupt. When it comes to justice, young people watch what we do, not listen to what we say. As elected officials squabble over an urgent plan to deal with the violence, they need to consider that not all of these shootings are over territorial disputes. For instance, in Austin, a man shot at a 4th of July revelers, killing one woman and wounding 2 others, supposedly because he was angry that he was asked to stop shooting his gun in the air as children played outside, according to Cook County prosecutors. Calvin Connigan, who's been charged in that shooting, has a previous unlawful use of a weapon by a felon conviction, for which he got a 10-year prison sentence. Asked a week before that mass shooting, one person who killed 10 others wounded. About a week before that mass shooting, one person was killed and 10 others wounded when 2 people fired at a crowd in Park Manor near a bustling commercial strip. That was the shooting I was telling you about, where the community came together and there were no shootings on the 4th of July. So I know that there is a solution. Those elected officials and appointed officials need to listen to individuals that know about the solution instead of an experiment. Obviously, Hoover can't clean up the streets, and I agree with Mary. But treating him fairly could have gone a long way towards building the trust needed to end the chaos. You know, I know Mary is right, because I believe this. If they hadn't locked up individuals, and everybody else feel the same way, even those that voted for the 1994 crime bill because of the crack wars. So what we have now is the residuals from what they did when they locked up those on the street. Don't get me wrong. If a crime was committed and they had the evidence, they had the right to prosecute it fairly and sentence them justifiably. But here we are, 20 plus years later, and you got the 1990 problems again. Trump was elected because the people was mad because Hillary Clinton's husband, Bill Clinton, signed that 1994 crime bill, which was sponsored by Senator Biden is now President Biden. Biden said he made a wrong decision and he was sorry. All those that voted for the bill said that they were sorry. And then everybody felt that redemption was needed so that we can move forward. Because everyone was perfectly focused to get Trump out of that office. And I'm glad that they did. But Biden was redeemed. So I believe that in the name of fairness, humanity, and public safety, I believe our elected officials, our federal elected officials, in the name of redemption, should ask the president to pardon Larry Hoover. We have a governor that's a criminal reform governor that's against wrongful conviction and that's for justifiable sentencing. I believe that the elected officials in Illinois, especially the state elected officials, in the name of fairness, in the name of humanity, and in the name of redemption, should ask the governor to pardon Larry. He can pardon Larry just like he did Gerald Reed. Just like he pardoned other individuals that were worse than Larry, in my opinion. In the name of redemption, especially with so much on the line. Like Mary said, the young adults are paying attention to what we do. Then they pay attention to what we're saying. I'm saying that, hey, I'm saying that we as a people, we got the voice. We need to ask our elected officials to do what's right based on law. The United States president has the power to free Larry. Biden was there when Obama freed the FALN leader. He also commuted a former GD governor that was on the case with Larry. Bobby Rush asked him to do that, and Guterres asked President Obama to do that for the FALN. So ain't nothing wrong with Gator asking those elected officials to do the same thing in the name of humanity, fairness, and redemption for Larry Hoover. And with that, I want to say, to God be the glory. I thank you for listening to our story, because we got to find a solution to end this violence. And it starts by being fair. Thank you.